My husband cheated on me with a younger woman he met on a Slavic dating site. I never thought it would come to this. After years of marriage, I never thought that I would be driving into the city on a suspicion that my husband was cheating on me. But here I was, sitting in my car outside of a seedy motel, waiting for the confirmation of what I already knew in my heart. Our marriage had grown dull, and we had grown apart. I had cheated on him in the past, but he was able to move past it. However, as I continued to cheat, he became disenchanted with me, and he began to seek adventure outside of our marriage. I had suspected for a while that he was seeing someone else, but I didn't have any concrete proof. Until now. As I sat in my car, I watched as a young woman in a tight dress exited the motel room. She had long, blonde hair and wore too much makeup. I knew it was her, the younger woman my husband had met on a Slavic dating site. My heart felt like it was being crushed, but at the same time, I couldn't help but feel a sense of anger towards my husband. How could he do this to me? After all the years we spent together, after all the love we shared, he was willing to throw it all away for a fling with some random woman he met online. I waited for the woman to leave before I made my way to the motel room. I knew my husband was still inside, and I wanted to confront him about what he had done. When I entered the room, I saw him sitting on the edge of the bed, his head in his hands. He looked up at me with a guilty expression on his face, and I knew then that my suspicions were true. "Why did you do it?" I asked him, my voice cracking with emotion. "I don't know," he said, shaking his head. "I just felt so disconnected from you, and I wanted something more." I felt a tear roll down my cheek as I looked at him. "So you turned to someone else instead of talking to me about it." "I'm sorry," he said, standing up and taking a step towards me. "I never meant to hurt you." "You cheated on me," I said, my voice rising in anger. "After everything we've been through, you cheated on me with some random woman you met on a dating site." I know, he said, holding up his hands. "I messed up, but can't we work through this? Can't we try to fix our marriage?" I shook my head, feeling a sense of finality wash over me. "I don't think I can," I said. "I don't know if I can ever trust you again." He looked down at the ground, his shoulders slumping in defeat. "I understand," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. I left the motel room, feeling numb and empty inside. I couldn't believe that our marriage had come to this. I had cheated on him in the past, but I had thought that we had moved past it. I never thought that he would be the one to cheat on me. Over the next few days, we talked about what had happened. He told me that he was sorry, that he loved me, and that he wanted to try to work things out. But I couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal that I felt towards him. In the end, we decided to separate. It was the hardest decision I had ever made, but I knew it was the right one. Our marriage had grown too toxic, and we needed to move on from each other in order to heal. It's been a few years since that day at the motel, and I've been able to move on with my life. It wasn't easy at first, but with time, I found a new sense of independence and happiness. I learned that sometimes, even the strongest of marriages can falter. But it's not the end of the world. It's possible to move on and find happiness again. As for my ex-husband, I heard through mutual friends that he eventually married the younger woman he had cheated on me with. I don't hold any ill will towards him or her. In fact, I hope they're happy together. Maybe one day I'll find someone new who will love and cherish me in the way that I deserve. But for now, I'm content with just being on my own and living my life on my own terms. I think it best if I keep my own opinions out of this. Not gonna lie, I could probably take up the rest of our time with my thoughts. But your thoughts are the ones that really matter. Please share them in the comments section below. Let's continue with another story. I cheated on my wife with a hot Asian girl. I cheated on my wife with a hot Asian girl named May. I know it sounds terrible, but let me explain. My wife and I have been married for almost 10 years. Throughout our entire relationship, she has cheated on me multiple times, and yet I have always remained faithful to her. I know, it's stupid, but I loved her and wanted to make things work. Despite my loyalty, my wife always accused me of cheating on her with Asian girls. She was convinced that I had a thing for them, and no matter how many times I denied it, she never believed me. I found it ironic, considering she was the one who cheated on me with men of all races, including Asians. One day, I was at a bar with my friends when I saw her. She was beautiful, with long black hair and almond-shaped eyes. I couldn't help but feel drawn to her. She was the epitome of everything my wife accused me of being attracted to. I felt guilty just looking at her, but at the same time, I couldn't resist her. We started talking, and I found out that her name was May. She was a first-generation immigrant from China, and her family had recently moved to the United States. We talked for hours, and I found myself captivated by her stories and her accent. I could tell that she was interested in me too. As the night wore on, I found myself getting closer and closer to May. We danced, and she pressed her body against mine, sending shivers down my spine. I knew I shouldn't be doing this, but it felt so good to be wanted again. It had been years since I had felt this kind of passion and vitality. Eventually, May invited me back to her apartment, and I knew I couldn't say no. We kissed passionately as soon as we walked through the door, and before I knew it, we were in her bed, tearing each other's clothes off. It was like nothing I had ever experienced before. May was so passionate and intense, and I felt alive again. Afterwards, I lay in her bed, feeling a mix of guilt and satisfaction. I knew what I had done was wrong, but at the same time, I couldn't help but feel like I had been given a new lease on life. For the first time in years, I felt like I was worth something. May had made me feel desirable and wanted, something my wife had never done. The guilt started to eat away at me, and I knew I had to come clean to my wife. I told her everything, expecting her to be angry and upset. To my surprise, she just shrugged and said, "I knew it. I always knew you had a thing for Asian girls." Her nonchalance made me angry. She had cheated on me multiple times, and yet she had the nerve to accuse me of being unfaithful. After that night with May, I knew I couldn't stay with my wife any longer. I deserved to be with someone who loved and respected me. I deserved to be with someone who didn't constantly accuse me of cheating. I moved out a few weeks later, and it was the best decision I ever made. Since then, I've been dating again, and it's been amazing. I've met so many wonderful women, all of whom make me feel valued and appreciated. I've realized that I wasted so many years on my ex-wife, trying to make things work when they were never meant to be. Now, I feel like I have a new lease on life. I'm happy, confident, and full of energy. I know cheating is wrong, and I don't condone what I did. But at the same time, I can't help but feel like my experience with May gave me a much-needed boost of confidence and self-worth. It showed me that I'm still desirable, still attractive, and still capable of feeling alive and passionate. And most importantly, it showed me that I deserve to be with someone who makes me feel that way all the time, not just in fleeting moments of lust and desire. So maybe cheating on my wife with a hot Asian girl wasn't the best decision I ever made. But at the same time, it was a wake-up call, a reminder that life is too short to spend it stuck in a rut, trapped in a loveless marriage, and feeling unfulfilled and unhappy. Well, there you have it. Let us know what you think. Next story, please. Husband cheats on me with 2 of his coworkers. At the same time. Listen up, y'all, because I got a story that's gonna make your jaw drop. You know how they say that cheaters never prosper? Well, my ex-husband didn't get the memo on that one. See, he was the manager of a hotel, and he thought he was the king of the world. But little did I know that he was cheating on me with not 1, but 2 of his coworkers, at the same damn time. Now, let me set the scene for y'all. My ex-husband was a real piece of work. He was always trying to act like he was hot stuff, strutting around the place like he owned it. And he had these 2 hot young Latina cleaning staff workers who worked for him, and they were always all over him. I didn't think anything of it at first, you know. I mean, he's a grown man, he can handle himself. But then I started to notice things, like how he was always on his phone, texting someone, even when we were supposed to be having quality time together. And then one day, I saw a text pop up on his phone that said, "Can't wait to see you tonight, my love." And I knew something was up. So I started doing some investigating, and that's when I found out the truth. My ex-husband was sleeping with both of those cleaning staff workers, and he was doing it at the same time. I mean, can you believe it? Who does that? I was so hurt and angry when I found out. I mean, how could he do this to me? We had been married for years, and I thought we had something real. But I guess he was just a snake in the grass, slithering around and betraying me behind my back. And the worst part, he didn't even try to deny it. When I confronted him about what I had found, he just shrugged and said, "Yeah, so what?" Can you believe that? He didn't even have the decency to apologize or show any remorse. So, needless to say, I kicked him to the curb. I wasn't going to stick around for that kind of disrespect. And you know what? I'm better off without him. I don't need no man who's going to treat me like that. But sometimes, I still think about those 2 cleaning staff workers. I mean, how could they do that to me, too? We all worked together, and they knew that my ex-husband was married. And yet, they still went behind my back and slept with him. It makes me sick to my stomach just thinking about it. But you know what? Karma's a bitch, and I'm sure it'll catch up with them eventually. They might think they got away with something, but they'll get theirs in the end. So, that's my story, y'all. If you ever find yourself in a situation like this, don't let nobody treat you like dirt. You deserve better than that. And if they cheat on you with not 1, but 2 of their coworkers, well, then they're just a whole different level of low. Let us know what you think about that one. The final story awaits. My husband cheated on me with an Amish girl. I never thought it could happen to me, but it did. My husband cheated on me with an Amish girl. It sounds like the plot of some ridiculous soap opera, but it's my life now. We had been married for 10 years and I thought everything was perfect. We had a beautiful house, 2 adorable children, and a strong, loving relationship. But then I started to notice that something was off. He was distant and seemed to be preoccupied with something. One day, I decided to follow him. I know it sounds crazy, but I had to find out what was going on. I followed him to a nearby town and watched as he walked into a small Amish community. My heart sank. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I drove back home and waited for him to return. When he finally came home, I confronted him about where he had been. He tried to lie at first, but I could tell he was hiding something. Eventually, he admitted that he had been seeing an Amish girl. I was devastated. How could he do this to our family? I couldn't understand why he would throw everything away for a fling with someone he couldn't even communicate with properly. He explained that he was feeling lost and confused, and that being with this girl made him feel alive again. I was hurt and angry, but I didn't want to give up on our marriage. I decided to try and understand why he had done what he did. I researched the Amish way of life and tried to put myself in his shoes. I found out that the Amish have a tradition called rumspringa, which is when young adults are allowed to explore the world outside of their community before deciding whether or not to join the church. During this time, they are allowed to dress in English clothes, listen to music, and use technology. It dawned on me that my husband might be going through his own version of rumspringa. He was feeling trapped in his mundane life and wanted to escape. The Amish girl represented a way out, a chance to experience something new and exciting. I decided to confront my husband about my theory, and he confirmed that I was right. He was feeling trapped and suffocated by our comfortable life, and he needed to break free. He had never felt more alive than when he was with the Amish girl, even though they couldn't communicate properly and had vastly different lifestyles. I was torn between wanting to save our marriage and feeling hurt and betrayed. I didn't know if I could forgive him for what he had done. But then, something unexpected happened. The Amish girl came to our house. She had apparently heard about our situation and wanted to speak to me. She spoke broken English, but she was sincere and kind. She explained that she never intended to hurt anyone, and that she had feelings for my husband but knew that it was wrong to act on them. She also explained that the Amish way of life is not as perfect as it seems from the outside. She felt suffocated by the rules and traditions, and she admired the freedom that my husband had in his English life. She didn't want to give up her family and community, but she also didn't want to live a life without any freedom or choice. Her words made me see things in a different light. I realized that we all have our own struggles and desires, and that it's not always easy to find a balance between tradition and modernity. I also saw that my husband was not a monster, but a person who was struggling with his own demons. In the end, we decided to work on our marriage. It wasn't easy, but we both wanted to make it work. We sought counseling and worked through our issues. We had to relearn how to communicate with each other, how to be vulnerable, and how to trust again. It was a long and difficult journey, but eventually, we found our way back to each other. We learned to appreciate what we had and to work together to make our marriage stronger than ever before. Looking back, I still can't believe that my husband cheated on me with an Amish girl. It's not the kind of thing you expect to happen in your life. But in a strange way, it brought us closer together. It made us confront our problems head-on and forced us to be honest with each other. So that's my story. It's not a traditional love story, but it's ours. It's messy and complicated, but it's also filled with love, forgiveness, and understanding. And in the end, isn't that what really matters? That one was a real find. What do you think? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. When you subscribe, be sure to click the notification bell. Click here for more Tangled threads.